My name's Rich and I'm a Superyacht Captain. Hi and welcome back to View from the Bridge. My name's Rich, and although I'm a Superyacht Captain now, I wasn't always, and I left school at 16 years old with no qualifications. And I just wanted to put this together to all the people out there that might be in a similar situation. Leaving school with no qualifications isn't great, and it doesn't make you feel brilliant, and you're surrounded by other people telling you what you can't do in life. But there's a great phrase that it's not the dog in the fight, it's the fight in the dog. And if you've got fight, then you'll get by. And it's a great world out there, and you don't necessarily need to come out of school with straight A's to get on in life. And a lot of people have done a lot of great things, have not necessarily passed all their exams. So I really wanted to reach out to those people that are in that situation, and to let you know that actually you can be okay. And if you're willing to work hard and knuckle down and get on with life, and you keep your mouth shut and your ears open, and you do what people tell you and listen to good advice, ignore the bad advice, although it can be difficult to know which is which at times, then there's a great world out there, and you just got to go and get it. But sometimes it takes somebody to tell you that you can do that before you know in yourself that you can. And that's what happened to me, and I'll come on to that later. I did have a fortunate start in a way. I was born in the UK, which is great, and I had a great loving family, and I was given a good set of values to live by and a good moral compass, and I think that's a great set of skills, and I'm very fortunate that I had that to start with. I've made my notes on the old notepad here, so as there's a lot to go through. I left school with no qualifications, like I said, and then I joined the army at 16 as a boy soldier. I then left the army after basic training because I realised that actually army life isn't great for me. I did like the running around and I liked the physicality of it, which is why later on I did join the territorial army, which in America they call the National Guard, and it's a part-time thing that you do, and that was great, and I really enjoyed that. I became a corporal in the infantry, and I loved that, and I did that for 10 years. Brilliant, great fun. And it was the army actually that got me into sailing, and they made me go on a sailing course that I didn't actually want to go on, and I was doing a lot of adventure training, climbing, and kayaking, and I didn't know anything about sailing, but it was in the training budget. So as I was the one who was doing a lot of the adventure training, they sent me on the sailing course to use it up, and it was great. I loved it, and I ended up joining the Army Sailing Association. And the army was really the one that got me into sailing boats and being on the water proper. It was great, and I really appreciate that. And being in the TA was one of the big catalysts that got me here today. After leaving the army, I worked in catering for around 5 years, became a chef. I spent 2 years on day release to go to college, and so that was great. I was working full time, but then one of my days off I'd give up so I could go to college, and then I qualified at the end with the City and Guilds qualifications. I stayed in the catering for 5 years, and I take my hat off to anybody that stays in longer than that, because it's really hard work. I didn't like it. Split shifts, not much pay, and a tough place to be. Tough place. And then this was one of the critical things, the critical pivot points for me in my life, that I was fortunate enough to go and work for my uncle in North Wales, and he owned a restaurant there. And one day I was in the kitchen working, and I had a long face, and he came up to me and he said, "What's wrong with you? Why are you looking so miserable?" And I said, "Oh, I don't want to be a chef, you know." And actually, this was on my one day off that I used to spend working in the kitchen washing dishes just to make some extra money. And I did, and surprise, surprise, I wasn't really enjoying life then. And he said, "Well, if you don't want to be a chef, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be a fireman. and he said, well, have you applied? And I said, well, no, I haven't. I don't think I'm good enough. And he said, well, you know what? If you're working, picking up the bins and the litter in the street, and you want to be an astronaut, then if you don't do anything about it, but you just keep saying that, you'll never do anything. You'll stay there in the street picking up the litter. But if you spend all your time off and all your spare capacity studying studying astrophysics and space and the space industry, you might not become an astronaut, but by sure you'll probably get a job within that industry because you're passionate about it, you care about it, and it's what you really want to do. And I went away from there and I thought, oh, he's got a point. And if I don't get off my arse and do something about this, then, no one's going to come and hand it out to me. It's not going to be handed to you on a plate. So I'm very grateful to him for that moment in life that made me stop and think. And this was one of a couple of points. And then I thought, right, I'm going to do this. And I ended up going back to college, and then went back to college and did another couple of years there to get some qualifications. And that enabled me to get the basic qualifications, so then I could apply to the fire service. So I then spent the next 4 years applying to get into the fire service in numerous different brigades. And I managed to get into the Hereford and Worcester Fire Brigade in 1998. That was great. And I was so happy to get in, and it was brilliant. And I enjoyed many aspects of the fire service. But after 6 years service, I was taking home £1,000 a month, and it wasn't going to get much more. And I didn't really enjoy it after all that time. At the beginning I did, and it was great. And when you're driving a fire engine and you're going into a fire and breathing apparatus, it's brilliant. But all the rest of it around it, you can keep that to me. I didn't enjoy that at all. So I very much felt like a square peg in a round hole in the fire brigade. And it certainly was not for me. When I left catering and before I joined the fire service, when I was back at college to try and get more qualifications, as part of that time, it was BTEC in outdoor recreation and leisure that I did. And I worked for a company called PGL, and they put us all through our training to become a sailing and windsurfing instructor. And they paid for all that as long as you go and work for them in the summer. So I did that for 96 and 97. I worked out on the beaches in Spain. It was brilliant, great time, no money. There is no money in water sports as working on a beach, I can tell you that, but it is great fun. I had an epic time, but it's probably not the best long-term career. I served in the fire brigade for 6 years, and then unfortunately my sister died of a brain tumour. And she was 30 and I was 28. She was a police officer and I was a firefighter, and it got to the point, and I thought, losing Rachel gave me such a sense of mortality, of realising you are really only here once and you got one shot at this, and that's it, you're gone. So you may as well enjoy it. So I sold my house, I quit my job in the fire service, and I knew I wanted to be on the sea, on the water. So I was just going to buy a sailboat and take off and see where it led. But fortunately, I knew enough about sailing to know that I didn't know enough about sailing, and went down to the south coast in the UK. And from there, I took 6 months at the UK Sailing Academy in Cowes in the Isle of Wight, doing their leadership programme, and then worked through that and came out of there with some great qualifications and some great experience of being on the water and being on sailboats. Didn't really teach me much about super yachts, but it taught me a lot about sailing and made me a much better sailor. So as I say, in 2004 I left the fire service, and it was a big gamble because everybody tells you, why would you leave the fire brigade? That's mad. You get a pension, good pay, good time off, and that's ridiculous that you'd want to leave that safe environment. And but I just knew that I wanted more from life. There was more to me than just that. And don't get me wrong, it's a great job and it's admirable, and we're all very fortunate that there are people in society that are prepared to do that for us. But as I say, Fire Brigade wasn't for me, and I made the decision to leave, and I'm very glad I did. And what came after that was great, absolutely brilliant. So as I say, in 2004, I left the fire service and then went down to UKSA, completed my sailing and training there, and then I got a job in the industry before I'd even left, because a crew agent came down, and when she came down, I had my CV in my hand printed off, and I wouldn't let her leave until she took it, and I forced it into her hand because she just came to give us a talk. And I forced it into her hand, and then she phoned me up a couple of weeks later and she said, I've got you a job. So I had a job before I even left the UKSA, and I flew straight out to Italy and joined a brand new Mangusta 40-metre yacht, and I knew absolutely nothing about the industry at that point. But it was great, I had a good time, and again, it was a charter boat and it was a lot of hard work. And, you know, people will say to you, if you get on in life, they say, oh, aren't you lucky to get there? Aren't you lucky that this happened? But, you know, the harder you work, the luckier you'll get. I guarantee it. If you put in the effort, then the rewards will come. But it's not something that happens overnight. And you've got to be prepared to put in the long, hard yards. And if you do, then reward will follow. Probably no matter what career you do, these things are common throughout the world. So I joined that boat, and then stayed working as a deckhand for a few years, and then worked my way up through the super yacht industry. I was joining at 30 years old. I was about the oldest deckhand ever in the industry, and again, I was surrounded by people telling me I was too old to be a deckhand. But I did every course I possibly could as soon as I could, because there's certain courses, you can only do certain courses once you've done the sea time. So you have to be employed on a boat and you have to record your sea time. Once you've done that sea time, then you can go and do a course. And if you pass that course, then you're on to the next level. So, and to go all the way through that process up to captain, it takes around 10 years. And by 2014, I was captain. I passed my MCA Master 3000, and that was a really great process to go down, great education. I think the MCA's education format is brilliant. It could be better, as all things could, but it's a really great license to hold, and gives you confidence that you know what you're doing. So I stepped straight into the captain's role shortly after I got my 3000 ticket, and I've been a captain ever since. So yeah, that was the road that I took to get here. As I say, left school with nothing, ended up here, and it was a bit of a bumpy road at times, but I do appreciate the value of hard work, and what got me here was knuckling down and getting on with life, and not settling for second best, and not listening to everybody that told me I couldn't do it. So for every one person that tells you you can't do it, just take that negative energy and use that for the good. Okay, so that's how I went from leaving school with nothing to being sat here today as a captain, and I'm very fortunate that I've got a great job, great owner that I work for, and I have a lovely wife, 2 kids, and I count my blessings every day. But it all came from hard work and knuckling down and getting on with it, having some self-belief and not listening to people that give you negative energy. And take that energy, turn it around and use it to drive you forward. So don't listen to what other people say. You can do it, believe in yourself, because the only person that's stopping you getting on right now is you. So please do like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and more to come soon. Okay, thanks.